Okay.
Right.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to CxO Global Forum. In today's session, we will explore about headless commerce. Definitely, it is a game-changing approach for building the scalable and future-ready online solutions. I am CEO of Regex Private Limited company. We are providing customized software development services. We have panelists and expert in the e-commerce domain. We will discuss about uh, the benefits of, but we will discuss first about what is headless because it is a very critical concept to understand first, and then we will about the benefits and its applicability. I will start from Mr. Umar Rana to introduce himself and about his company. Please.
Thank you very much for inviting me on this forum as well and talk about headless commerce, which is definitely a very important concept to understand these days. So my name is Umar Rana. I've been in tech industry for the last 24 years. I had my own company for the last 11 years under the name of Alchemative. We were the main technology solutions company within Pakistan for Shopify. We were Shopify Plus partner as well. We were able to create a lot of solutions in the last 11 years, namely Jinko, Comverse, a couple of other companies I was able to found during this period was GrowX, edX. So all of these things, all of these companies and products actually came out of Alchemative in the last 11 years, including one of the most famous payment mediation solution as of now in use in Pakistan, UnumPay. UnumPay is also one of Alchemative's products. Anyways, in December, we got acquired by DevSync. So I'm now in DevSync and primarily responsible for the same thing. And that is to establish DevSync into e-commerce space, but not just Pakistan, globally, because as of now, we are not very focused in building solutions within Pakistan. Anyways, now coming to headless commerce. As you rightly mentioned, headless commerce is a very, very important concept to understand, especially for the brands and the kind of flexibility it offers. So let's start with the definition. So in essence, when you understand headless, that means you're basically talking about decoupling of the back end and the front end. That's the most important or the basic concept around headless. So front headless technology could be anything. You can build a front end on Vue.js, React.js, Next.js, whatever, and a backend could be an API-driven e-commerce engine. So it gives you the flexibility that the moment you break down both components, front end and back end, it gives you the flexibility to essentially build whatever your brand requires on the front end while not being limited by the limitations of a back end. So yeah, that's what headless in my understanding is.
Very nice. Mr. Samiullah, I would like you to give an introduction first about yourself and the company, and then about the headless concept.
Yes. My name is Samiullah Ata, and I'm CEO of EcomXpert, which is an e-commerce agency. Basically, we focus on making brands on Amazon, Shopify, and other platforms. Currently, we are working in different countries, UK, USA, and also in Australia. And Um, and I have been doing e-commerce since 2013, and but I make this company. But my company was established in 2019, uh, and since then I am working in this field. I have also incorporated IT in e-commerce and make it a bit of autonomous type of thing uh, basically we have through IT, through software, we have shortened couple of steps in not only in product hunting but also basically on the side of uh, the supply chain. So this is what I am doing, and now going towards the headless e-commerce architecture, basically. So as my fellow said, that it's basically decoupling of back end and the front end, and uh, and also it's it has two features, like the commerce side and the digital platforms. uh, Through in the digital platform, which is the front end, it has the mobile interface, desktop interface, while the back end is the product catalog, inventory, and also the checkout system and the payment integration system. So these two, front and back end, are integrated through the API layer. So this is basically the headless commerce as per my understanding. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for explaining the core concept of headless. Uh, yeah, it is basically the decoupling. The major concept is about decoupling. Let's deep dive in this conversation. Actually, we are doing e-commerce in the traditional sense, which is very coupled or coupled via API. So we have to differentiate between traditional e-commerce platform
Mm.
with the headless e-commerce. Uh, can we differentiate, Mr. Umar, Rana?
Yeah, yeah. So from a technical standpoint, it's obviously very straightforward and simple. So let's talk about platform to platform. Let's take WordPress, WooCommerce, and maybe Shopify, two examples there. So natively, Shopify give you a Liquid website. So Liquid is a templating engine which Shopify uses, and that front end is tightly coupled with the back end, which means any limitations of the backend in terms of how you want to show your categories, how you want to show your collections, filters, how do you want the navigation to happen, how do you want the card page or whatever page need to be displayed. The monolithic system, which is traditionally what we're using, is dependent. The front end is dependent on back end. So you have some limitations, even though platforms like Shopify and WooCommerce gives you a lot of flexibility, but still you have a lot of limitations and you have to go with that limitation. This is number one, very important. Number two, the front end, because the front end and back end is tightly coupled, which means the total amount of traffic or whatever limitations we have in terms of load handling and performance are also very tightly linked with the back end. So for example, if you implement monitoring technology, some kind of, so you want to create heat maps or you want to capture certain events via backend. Now, in order to process that, the whole system gets involved, which means if there is a load on the front end, that load also gets created on the back end. Similarly, happening at the back end. So, for example, if you have received a lot of orders and you have some kind of automation application at the back end, which is automatically processing orders, fulfilling through courier companies or payments, whatever, now that is going to overload the system. And that overloading is also going to affect the front end, even though front end traffic is not there. The moment you have a headless system, you decouple, you disconnect both of the components. So now your front end is separately hosted somewhere. It could be Amazon, Hydrogen, Oxygen, wherever you want to host it, because it's an independent application communicating with the backend via APIs, which means it only need to communicate for the data it requires, the functionality it requires, mainly data, not even the functionality, because the functionality layer is also segregated now. Functionality is, for front end is separate from the backend. So in this scenario, if backend is processing something, orders, omni-channel, consignment numbers, front end is totally not affected. Now this is the major difference. And then there is a use case. There's a very famous company called KOTN, Cotton. They had two different backend e-commerce platforms. They were using two different. So some products were on one platform and some functionality was coming from some other platform. Now they wanted to utilize both of the capabilities, but they cannot do it in a single system. So they created a separate front end, which is now a headless front end. And now that headless front end is talking to via APIs to two backend systems, two different systems, borrowing some functionality from A and some functionality from B. This is a very, very basic example. Another example we can take is if you want to create an interface which is not a traditional website interface, you want to create a kiosk-like interface. You want to create a variable interface. You want to create a gamified interface. You can easily do it with headless commerce, but you cannot do it with traditional e-commerce.
Okay. Uh, yeah, it's well defined now. Uh, Related to the key benefits, because when we provide e-commerce services, there are involve online retailers. How we can provide better solution to them using this headless architecture. Mr. Samiullah, can you explain this thing?
Well, as defined, it is the future of the of e-commerce, and the key benefits are basically when you decouple the front end and the back end, and it is integrated through the API. So, the best key benefit is the greater flexibility to the users, and we can like change the front end without any without changing any back end, and the front end can be changed, and the vice versa, of course. And the best example I can give in this flexibility is I have the same as told my fellow that WooCommerce and other platform are giving the API the same as Walmart, Amazon. They are also giving API, and we have developed a system, front end system, and we have integrated our Amazon stores uh, with the single system which is developed by us, and we have. Uh, and we make changes in the front end as per our own flexibility, so there is a greater flexibility, and also the scalability. It can handle increased traffic. It can expand to multiple stores, multiple channels, without without doing any rework on the back end system. Also the performance is faster because from the single unit you can be able to handle a lot of stores. So, and also the better omni-channel integration, and also enhanced personalization according to your own usage. So these are the key benefits of headless commerce.
Right. Related to flexibility and scalability, is already explained by the Mr. Sabiullah. So we can proceed further related to the performance. Performance is very important concept, uh, aspect of any system. So how it will increase the system performance by adopting this new approach, if we adopt it or already adopting it. So how it can increase the overall system performance. Mr.
Yeah.
Umar, please.
Yeah, so performance is one of the major benefits. Initially, when people started considering headless commerce, performance was one of the most important aspects to basically be the starting point, because Google basically penalizes you is if your website is taking more time to open up. And the typical survey which we do on internet, and what it tells us that on an average, people expect your website to respond within 4 seconds, whereas by third second, most of the people start closing the website. So when we look at this and we look at any headless website, if done right, we will see that most of the headless websites, they open up in first 1 second. Reason being, you can, so obviously the whole website cannot load in 1 second. There are a lot of components they are still loading, but because you have full control over the front end, so you can create that particular impression, and you can load enough of the website that user stays there. They know, okay, the website is coming. I can see the menu, I can see the banner now. So by the time they start scrolling down, the website is fully loaded. So that's the kind of control you have when you have headless commerce implemented. In general, because your website is now converted more into code, and it's also gets loaded into you have the ability to load it to your local browser, because it's a code now. It's no more like a monolithic system, which means the first loading might take 1 or 2 or 3 seconds, but second loading will be actually faster than that. It's like instantly there. I can actually share my screen right now and walk you through to one of the headless websites I just was giving an example, and you can see the kind of performance it gives you, menu by menu, collection by collection. You are applying filters. So obviously we know that headless is not a new concept. It's not a very new concept. Yes, now everybody is looking at it. Flipkart, which is an Indian marketplace, Flipkart implemented headless commerce 6 years back. And even at that time, if you look at the website, the performance was outstanding. But obviously, at that time, it was very difficult to basically implement, and it's a costly proposition for every brand to basically do that. So yes, performance is a very very important parameter for implementing headless, and one of the key factors should be considered while doing that. But very importantly, as Mr. Samuel identified, the flexibility you get with headless, a lot of brands do not really understand the kind of flexibility. So if you do not have a clear strategy, what you are going to achieve through headless, then most of the time it's a waste of money as well. At the same time, because it's going to cost you more money. It's a bigger project. It's a more complicated project. More components are involved. The concept of composable commerce comes in, so it becomes more expensive. So you really need to have a strategy, or business strategy, digital marketing strategy, and all of that in place to basically go for headless commerce before you take that decision.
Yeah. Uh, let's discuss about the implementation perspective, the latest implementation perspective. If we try to implement a headless concept, what are the key components we should keep in mind, and how we can proceed towards this transition?
You
Uh,
expect me to answer, or Mr.
you
Samuel?
can, yeah.
You expect me to answer this?
Uh, Mr. Samila, if you answer it.
Can you tell me again, because there was some disturbance in your voice,
Oh, okay.
maybe from my side, I think so.
Okay, actually, this is the concept and approach. If anybody want to implement it practically, so what are the key components he should consider, and how he should proceed towards it?
Okay, so there is a basically a whole architecture in order to proceed with this type of approach. As mentioned earlier, there is a back-end approach, which is basically manages the product data, inventory, and other and orders and transitions. Basically, big commerce, Shopify, Magneto type of things, type of platform. So another is the presentation layer, which is the front end. So it can be a custom built or UI platform, or it can be it can, there are so many other software as well, like Angular or maybe the React, if I'm not wrong. So, and we can build that front end as it is built by my agency as well. So these two type of things. The third key component is the API layer, which actually the bridge the gap between these two layers, the presentation and the back end, which is a commerce engine. So the API layer, which connects, can be we can find it in Shopify. There is API managed by Amazon. Any big e-commerce market has its own API, in which we can link our front end system. And also there is third party integrations as well, like the payment integration. The shipping providers, USPS has its own API as well. We can integrate, we have already integrated in our system the USPS API, and also the marketing automation tools. So we can also integrate. There is another key component which can be the CMS system, inventory system. Um, but the major architecture is front end, back end, and API, and third party integration. So these four are the major things.
Okay.
Mm.
A question from Mr. Umar. Uh, let's suppose we have a already built e-commerce system, but we know the potential of future potential of headless. How we can transition? Should we build it from the scratch, or should we? Is there is possibility to continue from the already built stuff?
Okay, so I'll basically answer this, and along with what Mr. Samiullah have touched, I'll also touch upon those areas. You can always transition from the current state to headless state, but that's not the right approach, because headless gives you so much flexibility, so much new options, and avenues to explore because of decoupling, that if you simply upgrade the current system, there's no point using headless because you're just upgrading. So, number one, whenever you're going for headless, you have to start from the drawing board. You have to have a business plan for headless, which means you look at the flexibility what it is offering, and then based on that flexibility, look at your brand, how your brand can capitalize these functionalities, flexibilities which the headless ecosystem is offering. That's the first step. So you go to the business plan again. Then you go to the design, because previously what you designed was considering the existing system, the monolithic system. Now you have a more flexible system, so you need to redesign. Just like when we go for a mobile app, we say mobile first approach. Why? Because mobile gives you different kind of flexibility as compared to website. So when you take mobile as a different platform, headless is even much more flexible than mobile, because you have a bigger screen possibility at the same time, along with the application concept. So first you go with the business plan, then you go with the design. So you have an independent design designed for headless. The third step should be deciding about the content management system, because that's one of the most important elements the moment you have headless. With headless, you have the flexibility to go for a unified content management system, because you're already publishing as a brand, you're publishing content across social media. So with headless, you can have a CMS as an independent component than e-commerce. So e-commerce is separate now. Your e-commerce engine is independent, and your content engine is totally independent. And you can develop the content and funnel the content and architect the content the way you want to display the creative aspect of your brand. So that's the next piece you have to figure out, the CMS. There are a lot of options there. There are free ones as well, for example, Strappy, and then paid ones, very expensive ones, Contentful and Content Rather. Once that is sorted out, then you go to the front end technology. As Mr. Samuela mentioned, there are a lot of technologies, but you have to see what is your objective. So maybe Angular is not right for you because Angular is maybe too big and bulky, and you do not have that kind of functionality. So maybe React is better option for you, Vue.js is better option for you, or something like Shopify provides Remix, which might be even better than anything else. So you have to select the front end technology before you go to the next step. Now coming to the backend APIs, APIs are pretty much sorted, as Mr. Samula said. Most of the large platforms are already giving APIs. Shopify gives you storefront API. Now that storefront API gives you everything that an e-commerce engine requires, from the product data to inventory and everything else, and orders and all that. Payments and logistics, most of these things are handled at the back end, not typically required at the front end, unless you want to do some kind of automation. For example, you want to restrict based on your location certain type of logistics options. You want to restrict COD based on the location of the customer. So then you can definitely use the front end as well as back end to do that. Yes. So this is my take on it.
Okay, Mr. Abdullah, there is one terminology which is omni-channel experience. I would like you to just explain this terminology for our better understanding and how Headless is assisting us to achieve this.
Uh, so, uh, in the strategy for the omni-channel integration, it is actually the main key benefit, and the main part of Headless, and it gives websites or even the backend the seamless experience uh, across all the platforms. So the omni-channel integration is basically the payment method integration, and also it gives easy access to the users, and also enhance the credibility of the user interface.
Okay. Uh, what are the benefits of adopting this headless architecture for any business? Mr. Samiullah, can you explain some kind of your views?
Yeah. Actually, the key benefits is when you have a large enterprise and high growth brands, then you need advanced customization and scalability of all the platforms which you are using. So, because you basically have different teams for different tasks. Uh, Number one is the inventory management, supply chain management, the omni-channel, and all the related tasks, and specifically also the when you need to target from your suppliers to the end user, or the buyer of your product, when you have a e-commerce store. So in order to cater all the details, you need to integrate the headless approach in the commerce. And the second is the as I told you, the omni-channel retailers. We sell across the website, the web, and also the mobile and in store. So basically you have different channels. And when you build a brand, you actually target different platforms like eBay, uh, and Shopify, Amazon. So it all of them can be integrated through one AP, through different APIs to one front end. So basically, makes you easy to handle all those stores from one switch or one button. And also the direct to consumer brands, which want, as I told you before, you can have a complete approach towards branding and all the key concepts in your business. Like from one person can actually manage the whole of different things, not only manage but and can see from the supplier side to the end user. So that's actually how it works, the key benefits.
Okay. Um my question for Mr. Umar. Uh, Everything comes for the cost and ROI. So, how headless can provide us better ROI in short term or longer term, and how it will require the initial investment? Is it higher than the traditional e-commerce platform or lower it? So how we can convince our customers to adopt this in terms of financial matters? How we can justify it?
So headless is not a cheap technology; it's an expensive technology. There are a lot of software houses which are offering it in the same price in the market, but eventually those customers suffer because of the poor implementation. As I said earlier, headless requires a complete business modeling understanding. You have to remodel your business for headless, and then go into that process. The cost of the technology can vary from obviously country to country, technology to technology, software house to software house, how you implement it. But as a rule of thumb, it should cost at least 5 times more than the traditional proper implementation I'm talking about. Uh, we have recently been doing this implementation with one of the customers, and I cannot exactly reveal the price, but I can tell you one thing, that the price starts $100,000 plus. So it's not something you are going to get 5 lakh rupees ki website kind of thing. You're not that kind of turf you're talking about. Yes, there might be software houses who can commit on this kind of price, but they're definitely going to do a job which you won't like eventually when you get that implemented. Even the skill set is not readily available. So yes, we have React developers, we have Next.js developers available in our companies, but somebody who understands the whole ecosystem end to end, as Mr. Samula pointed out, that headless enables omni-channel as well. So now omni-channel is a very, very complicated concept, because omni-channel is not just about giving the same experience. So giving the same experience supply chain wise, giving the same experience communication wise, giving the similar experience interface wise, user experience. All of this actually comes under omni-channel. So omni-channel have a lot of facets to it. And when you have a comprehensive headless policy, you have to consider everything around it. And it's definitely not a short term thing, it's a long term thing. The ROI is not going to be 1 year or 5 months or 6 months. Ah, yeah. If you're a brand which is already doing millions or billions online, then it could be maybe less than a year. But for a typical brand, it takes a bit more time to receive the full ROI. But it is definitely future proofing. It is definitely going to enable you to experiment a lot on the marketing front, on the technology front.
Okay. The question is basically how we can convince then customers, because I think it is not for the small customer. It is for large
You should
enterprises who can
you
afford
should
the.
not convince. You should not know. It's not about enterprise. It's about a brand which have a clear strategy for their online presence and online growth. Any company that comes to you as a potential customer and says, we want to do headless because everybody else is doing it, don't take that project because you are going to get suffer because of the lack of vision of that brand.
Mm.
The brand needs to first understand what this technology is offering to them, how they can leverage it, and then when they leverage it, they will definitely have a business plan around it, how to take the ROI. So our job as technical companies, as solution providers, is to basically transfer this knowledge to our customers. Okay, now this is the new technology. These are the potential benefits. These are the potential advantages or structural changes or limitations you can remove from your current architecture or operations by having this technology in place. But this is just a technology. You need to have a business plan to use this technology first. Yeah. So I don't think the convincing route is the right route. Knowledge route, teaching route is the right route. So we go and teach them what is headless, and then they come back to their strategy.
Okay, I would like to get the opinion of Samiullah, Mr. Samiullah, please, on the same question.
Regarding the ROI and the cost of a
Yes,
traditional e-commerce solution. So, as
yes,
compared, okay. So yes, as Mr. Umar told earlier, that the initial costs are always high in this, and it's not only like 1 or 2 times; it's like 5 to 10 times higher than the traditional approach of e-commerce. But it has longer term benefits. Like number one is it has long term ROI. So, and also it can decrease the number of person required to scale their brand. Like if you have if you need like 10 persons in order to scale a brand, then through this it can be lower. And also the maintenance cost, it has higher maintenance cost, but in the longer run it decreases with time. So this approach, not anyone can come to this approach based on higher cost or a long-term ROI, but it is the brand, as Umar said, that actually need to fix its solution towards towards this type of approach of headless. So first of all, they need to see their finances, and number two, which is the most important, that what are the areas they need to focus in this system, and because we can personalize the approach. Like in order to lower the cost, we can personalize the area. Like for example, if you just need to focus on inventory solution, then obviously the whole CRM system can be expensive. So you can just need to take the API of that inventory, or you can just focus on the delivery side. So there are so many things to be personalized in order to check the initial cost and the ROI of the headless approach.
Yeah, right. So Headless is basically well known for personalization and customer engagement. So we how we can explain it for the better understanding. Mr. Samiullah, please.
Can you repeat again, please?
Okay. How we can explain the personalization and customer experience in the context of headless benefit uh, for our customers.
Okay, so in the headless, the headless support the personalization and the customer engagement, and how we can do it is actually the dynamic content. The We can like focus on the front end, and we can make it dynamic. We can personalize that according to our approach towards the e-commerce we are doing. If we are making a brand, we can personalize it towards the marketing side or the delivery side, or can we can cater the both things. So, or also we can integrate the suppliers and all these things. So it has greater option of personalization as compared to traditional approach. And we can also input the AI system, the data, and also the data driven insight in order to cater the customer engagement. For example, uh, you have different obviously you have different buyers of your product. So from which background they are coming, which state they are coming, or coming from, which areas they are coming from, their so we can customize our approach towards the better customer uh, engagement. And also we can rapidly test the which is called A/B testing or experimentation without disturbing the back-end approach. Now, only in the front end. For example, we have different products and we don't want to disturb the back end of uh, uh, the main source from which the API is coming from. For example, it is Amazon, and we want to test a product. So first of all, we will input that product in our system, and without disturbing the actual performance of Amazon. So then that system will run the performance testing, and how that product will target the our customer, because it has a lot of data of our customer. And then it can then we can send that product or input that product in actual to Amazon or eBay or wherever we are doing e-commerce. So 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 on actual there are three things: dynamic content, AI driven or data driven insights, and number three is the A/B testing or experimentation. So these three areas.
Okay, I have a case in mind. Let's suppose there are 3 to 4 type of customers who are using our systems. So using headless, can we achieve different type of front end, like for suppliers, for distributors, for in the same category? But there is a segmentation of customers. Everyone has different needs of user experience, minor needs maybe, and so do you think headless can help us, and this is the right adjustment in the headless concept? Mr. Umar,
Um,
you can.
Yeah, content personalization and overall personalization becomes very easy with headless. Even it is possible right now. So we were working with a company called Insider. Insider is a one of the largest companies in the world for content personalization. So what it does is It captures your data from across all channels, and based on that, it creates a profile against you. So, for example, you are someone who is always tilted towards buying black color products. So, whenever you visit a website which is controlled by, or I think it's a wrong word to say controlled by, which is enabled by a insider product or a content personalization product, that website will show you the black colored products first before anything else. And if I'm someone who's more tilted towards red color, whenever I visit the same website at the same time, I will be shown red color products earlier than other products. So this is an example of content personalization, which was even possible with the previous technology. But when we talk about headless, this becomes even more advanced because now you're not just limited to showing images. You have now capability of showcasing the whole website the way you want to showcase to individual person. So maybe you are someone who's more oriented towards interfaces which have a menu on right side, and I'm someone who's more comfortable with a full horizontal big menu kind of thing. The whole website can take shape based on my preferences. So this is the kind of thing you can easily do with headless. So yeah, this kind of content personalization, interface personalization, experience personalization can
Okay, right. One more question for you. Security is very important thing. So there are APIs. Anybody can get that API endpoint and do whatever he want. So how we can make sure it is secure, and what are the consideration we should um, keep in mind for the
happen.
security while implementing
So
it?
headless is by architecture more secure than the traditional one. Why? Because one of the aspects of security is that you do not put all your components in the same place. So the moment you say headless, essentially you are saying composable commerce. All those components are now separate. There's a separate CRM, content management separate, product inventory separate, interface separate. That means the first layer of security automatically comes in. You are never going to compromise the whole system in one go. One of the components can be compromised. That's one thing. Second thing, when you talk about API security and all this communication is happening is basically encrypted communication, number one, and they're happening through authorization. So it's not that you can build any front end and connect with any back end and it starts working. No, you have to have that authorization. Your front end code needs to be authorized by the back end APIs that the traffic coming from this particular IP address or particular application or particular source is valid traffic. Rest of the traffic it needs to discard because we know that all these, as Mr. Samiullah also mentioned, Amazon have public APIs, Shopify have public APIs. So public API does not mean that everything is public. Public API just means that it is available on the internet after you authenticate through the process. So yeah, security is inherent and built into the system most of the time.
Okay. Mr. Samira, can you further add anything in security consideration?
Yes, the security concentration. If we tell about the headless approach, it has more secure. It is more secure um, because these APIs are readily available in the public, uh, but the data is more secure. We cannot like collect data of other store and like that. So, and also if also those the front end and the back end is decoupled, so there is more security on the data because um, as I said that if you have different teams manage different projects or different areas of your brand, so then they can only focus on that area through this approach, regardless of traditional e-commerce where everything is open. And for example, the Shopify store is open, and anyone can go into different area through in the traditional approach. But in the headless, we have capacity to make different to get different APIs for different teams. And obviously, there is more personalization, so the data encryption is easier to do it. Obviously, it comes with a higher cost, but if you have a big company and you can do the data encryption and also the DOS protocols, you can implement firewalls as per your own personalization and or protocols. And also you can get like higher standard of data protection through this approach, in which in traditional approach it's very difficult, or I think so. Okay, I think so. It was. I think that we can't do anything when it comes to the platforms like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, or Walmart. We don't have that personalization in terms of compliance and data protection. So after the headless, we have these type of data protection compliances. So yeah.
Okay, for the implementation perspective, how we can implement, basically integrate payment gateways like Stripe and any other Brainstorm and other payment gateways in this headless system. If we have a headless system, how we can integrate other payment gateways, basically. Mr. Umar, if you can share some insight about it.
Yeah, integration of other systems is not that complicated on headless. Actually, it becomes even easier just because of the fact that in headless you have different components independently operating, and each component is basically a program. And so, in traditional system, payment systems and logistics are integrated typically on the backend layer, the business logic layer. Front end is very rarely part of that. And sometimes you need some kind of functionality on the front end as well. For example, you are offering a unique discount based on the location of the customer. Now, if you are offering that unique discount, that discount needs to get calculated on the front end. And maybe that discount is related to your logistics provider. So you have an arrangement with one of the logistics provider who's, let's say, launching in a particular area, new launch in a particular area. And because of the launch, they said, okay, we will deliver all the packages for free in, let's say, Peshawar. So now you know that anybody coming from Peshawar should get that discount because there's a free shipping available for the customers in that region. So now this kind of thing, previously it was all done at the back end, and the customer typically knows it at the time of checkout. But now, because of headless commerce, you can bring this integration on the forefront. So rather than at the time of checkout, they know at the time of actual purchase process, the initial purchase process. Similarly for payments, similarly for marketing integration. So integration becomes much more easier.
Okay, I would like to Mr. Sani to give his perspective about the implementation of other platforms like payment gateways, especially in headless system.
As Mr. Umar said that we have now an API driven payment solution, actually easier to implement um, in this type of approach like Stripe, PayPal, or and so there are other CMS platform as well, in which like headless CMS and PIM, and also the marketing and CRM tools like Klaviyo, HubSpot. They have all automated, or Salesforce, of course. They have automated marketing campaigns, and we can integrate them with our own front end system, and we can give them the discounts based on their interest, based on the areas and all these things. So not only the payment integration system, but also CMS and CRM. We can implement them with greater personalization based on the data we have obtained from backend on the front end. So this type of approach. And also there is uh, through this platform we can have better content delivery, like we can personalize our products or their or their content depends on the needs and demands of our buyers. So all of them are better, like we can have better integration of payment gateways and third party tools through the headless system.
Okay. Um, let's talk about the trend. These are the last discussion points about the trend of the headless commerce, upcoming
Mhm.
trends basically, and AI is very important topic to discuss in just last minutes. So, Mr. Umar, can you share some insights about AI and upcoming trends related to the headless commerce?
In terms of trends, I believe more and more platforms are opening up to enable headless. Uh, I think from a trend perspective, it's just that because
Mm.
this is, as I said earlier, it's not a new technology in terms of that. So now more and more platforms are enabling it to do it easily. Because earlier, for example, if 5 years back you want to implement headless in Shopify, you have to have your own front end layer hosted with Google or Amazon somewhere. Shopify does not give you a specific technology to work with in terms of headless. So you can work with anything. That's fine. But in terms of their APIs, there are a lot of functions which were not available. In terms of the content, they were also not very clearly communicating what kind of content engine you need. So now they have a very comprehensive headless architecture available. Yeah, if you want to implement headless on Shopify now, you know you need oxygen, you need hydrogen, you need this API, that API, this API, this is possible, this is not possible, this is the CMS side. So in a way, they have enabled it in these. Same goes for Magento, which is now Adobe, obviously. Adobe Commerce uh, enabled headless while back, 3 4 years back. But the current implementation is much more secure and mature and easy. Same goes for Salesforce. So in terms of trends, we are just going to see more and more platforms opening up, decoupling things, enabling lot of technologies around it, and you can enable more things. Okay. From this is from the headless trend going forward. With respect to AI, AI has become something which uh, is part and parcel of everything. Now anyone building a new system, anyone expanding a new system, and say, okay, we don't have AI component in this, it's almost impossible. So how AI is going to affect it, we are yet to understand. But yes, we what is content personalization? Content personalization is done based on machine learning algorithms, and machine learning is definitely an AI. And more of these things are going to get implemented. Conversation commerce, which is basically easily can be implemented now using generative technology. So I believe AI is going to just keep on getting into everything more and more.
Okay. Um, Mr. Sami, can you share some views about AI impacting on basically evolution of headless commerce and how it can benefit us in terms of AI implementation and all the things?
Yes, actually, AI has now become the major tool of headless commerce, and basically, in recent times, I think in last 1 or 2 years, the headless approach has uh, become more popular. Just not only about the personalization, but also the implementation of AI in this type of approach, because it is much easier to implement the personalization and AI together in this approach as compared to traditional one. Even though traditional one has given their own APIs, on AI approaches, like Shopify, we can like get a content, but on the larger perspective, personalization, number one is the personalization shopping experience for our buyers, then this AI driven approach is much better in headless commerce rather than the traditional one, where there is an AI approach. They have also got the AI approach, but not that far much better than we can implement in our own uh, API system and on our own front end. And also we can generate content as per the personalized content for each viewer or buyer. And also the best example can be the AI chatbots. And I think this is the future of e-commerce, the personalized chatbots, and the in this system the API, we can and also the majorly in Pakistan we can say that there where there is more than 30% of returns, we can expect the regardless in US it is like 1 or 2%, which is nothing, but here it's more than 40 to 50, more than 30% returns. So in the implementation of AI, we can prevent that fraud. We can prevent the fraud and the returns. So basically, it can enhance our own experience and also the user experience.
Okay, great. So uh, we are just near to end this session. I would like Mr. Umar to add something, anything related to our discussion, and what is the key takeaways we can identify. We have identified.
I think we've discussed almost most of the important stuff, so I will just re-emphasize one aspect. With any technology, you need to have a business plan before you implement it. Technology is just a tool, but you need to have your strategy to use that tool. If you just, as a brand, as a company, if you just think that getting the latest technology will solve everything, grow your business, it's not going to happen like that.
Right, Mr. Samila, can you share about your views?
Yes. For the headless approach, obviously, as Mr. Umar said, you need to have a business plan. You just can't go on and implement this approach in your organization. You need to have a data. You need to have experience. You need to have multiple people working with you related to software, because in the start you can face a lot of bugs, a lot of disruptions in your when you try this approach. So it can either enhance your experience if you are experienced, but most of the time when I have seen, when they apply this approach with limited resources, uh, then sometimes it backfires. So you need to have this type of approach, and then you need to have a right track, and also you need to have focus on the development resources, and also cater the higher cost, initial cost, and also ROI. But in the longer run, uh, it's best approach for your business and brand, I must say.
Right. Uh, the key takeaway basically for me is that it is initial cost heavy, but on the longer run it is very beneficial in terms of personalization, possibility of scalability, flexibility, because we can have multiple front ends, and even AI can help us for the checkout process. So we can just create a chatbot that can integrate the API and do whatever our user can ask, like put this particular item in the bucket and then check out and process it. Okay, this session was very great. Nice, uh, very nice session. Uh, we can end it now. Inshallah, we will soon meet again and do another session on related to the commerce. Thank you, Mr. Umar. Thank you, Mr. Sami. you very
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Shozab,
Thanks
for
for,
conducting this for us.
yeah, sure.